All right. Pleasant good evening to all of you, no matter where you are at this time. Be it in Dominica, be it in the region, or even further, much further afield, it's always a pleasure to have you guys on. Just about that time on Saturday, yes? And so it is the 1st of June, basically for us in the region. The hurricane season is officially here. And so those of you who needs to do your preparation or last minute or final preparation, please do so, because we never know, all right? We well remember Dominica is a country prone to hurricanes, and so we have witnessed one of the most devastating hurricanes that we ever witnessed in Dominica. In the 70s, that was Hurricane David, and also a repeat in 2017, that was Hurricane Maria. And we had a few in between that caused calculated damage, and so we don't want to be caught off guard, all right? So folks, all of you, I beseech you guys to do the necessary preparation. We can never be over-prepared, as it were, for this kind of tropical weather-like situation, but at least if you're prepared, you may just save yourself, your family, and your loved ones, all right? So we are there 1st of June 2024, and that is where I'm about to make a start with tonight's conversation. Our Saturday night live engagement, where we always focus on the facts. Yes, you heard me right? I always try to acquaint myself with the facts so that whenever I speak to you guys out there, it will be the facts, and yes, the facts. All right? We do pong befe. That is not for us here. That is not the platform for any beth ponging. We don't gossip around here. Yeah? So yes, all of you who are here already on the live, 100 plus, well, pretty close to 100 plus persons. Yeah, thank you very much indeed. It's always a pleasure. I just saw my brother Baba McPherson, I need to call you on something. And so you can expect that call from me sometime, maybe tomorrow morning, yeah? And to all my Antigua Passy, good evening to you as well. And all those of you in the region, and all those of you looking on. Yes, folks, in terms of the weather, we have had some sun, I must say. We have had some scorching heat in Dominica, but of late the rains have been coming in slowly but surely. Yesterday we had a few showers, today a few showers, and so that is expected around that time. Today it's a bit cloudy, very overcast, and so we are I am suspecting for some showers during the night and also maybe tomorrow morning, all right? So please be very, very cognizant of that, yeah? All right, Dominicans, in terms of the program content for today, I'm going to send some condolences messages like I always do. I'm also going to talk to a situation that just came to my hearing just before I came live. There's a situation that concerns our nation station, that is DBS. We'll be touching on that. There are some things that have been brought to my attention. The Dominica Broadcasting Station, that is our nation station, and so I think you guys need to be acquainted with what has been going on there for some time, and maybe as we speak, still going on at DBS Radio, right? Also, we heard and we saw much of an apostle, he called himself Apostle John Chi, all the way from Cameroon. And I was expected to give my take on Apostle John Chi last week, but I did not do the necessary, or I did not finish do the necessary digging or researching into what I was seeing and what I was hearing. And so I spent the better part of this week looking into the Apostle John Chi, who came to Dominica. We heard him, we saw him. And so I'll be giving you some factual situation as it pertains to that whole situation, John Chi's presence here in Dominica, and I will present the facts to you, and you make the judgment based on the facts. All right? It is not about smearing anybody. It is just about presenting the facts. Yes, in a very unadulterated fashion. Yeah. Also, we heard some pronouncements from Roosevelt Skerry earlier this week. I think it was Thursday. Yes, Thursday about there. Thursday or Friday. In a press conference, he called it of his own, and at least two statements stood out to me there. And so I'll be punching those two statements at you guys, and you will be hearing my take. I know you guys will have your take on it as well. Read these two statements from the man who sits in the chair as Prime Minister Dominica for the past, 15 years about. So we'll be punching that at you. And I think that should cut it, because the material tonight, I can tell you, it is very heavy. And so you need to make yourself very comfortable, because when we take flight, as it were, you will not get a breather. You will not get a chance to really take another break until we land at 8 o'clock. So whatever you have to do now, your glass of water, your coffee, whatever it is, take your best seat in the home, your most comfortable space, and so make yourself very, very comfortable at this time. Yeah. Tomorrow evening on the Civic Vibes program, we will be having an anchor presentation, as it were, with Marceline Edwards and some people from Dominica, but who are living in the diaspora, really at Expo, that they will be presenting, I think, sometime June 8th. And so we'll be hearing from Marceline and crew tomorrow on the Civic Vibes program in terms of the expo that they have coming up for us to partake in, those of us who can. All right? So that basically will make up the Civic Vibes program package for tomorrow, and a little bit here and there in between in terms of more factual information. Yeah? So Dominicans, it is what? Let me just take a note of the time check here. 16 minutes, yeah, 15 minutes past the hour, 6 o'clock, and I think we can make that all important start at this time, knowing fully well that the program is fully loaded tonight. Yeah? First and foremost of the bat, in terms of the messages out there to convey, the family, friends, loved ones, well-wishers of Brother Dave Bruni. Yes, Mr. Bruni. We here want to Roger Bruni. He passed some time back, and he was late to rest, I'm being told today. I spoke to a brother who was at that service, and so I know that happened factually. So the friends, loved ones of Brother Roger Bruni, you guys, you're mourning the loss of this brother now. And I always say, it is never an easy time to lose a friend, lose a family member, but that is an appointment we all have. And so it is what we do now that really matter. It's what we do now that really count at the end of that day, when, not if, when that number of hours it is called. All right? So I saw something here that I just want to read to you guys, and it was placed in the Dominica Politics chat group, and I am hoping it was penned by one named Anis Spice John Square. And so I'll just read it to us in the memory as we continue the loss of our brother Roger Bruni at this time. She writes here, as we mourn the loss of an incredible human being, activist, brother, friend, founding member of our social media community. Your vision and dedication helped bring us together and created a space for connection, support, and laughter, a place to vent frustration and anger by the state of affairs in our little island. Your tireless efforts and vision were instrumental in shaping our social media political group into a vibrant community it is today. Your passion for justice, equality, and democracy inspired us all to take action and make a difference. Although you are no longer with us, your impact will never be forgotten. We will continue to fight the causes you believe in and strive to make you proud. Your legacy lives on through the countless lives you touch and the community you helped build. Rest in peace, Roger. Your memory will continue to inspire us to share, care, and support one another when possible. Yeah? And as I said, he was basically sent home, finally sent home, sometime earlier today. And so we wish his family, friends, and loved ones a very soothing time as they continue to mourn the loss of Brother Roger Boone. I didn't know the brother personally, but I heard of his good works here, there, and everywhere. And so I think indeed, based on the sentiments expressed there in that post, I think those who knew him will attest to that in terms of the legacy that he will leave behind for us who are still on this side of life. All right? All those of you as well mourning, our sympathies we express to you as well, be it you are mourning the loss of a friend, a family, whatever it is, whoever it is, we sympathize with you at this time. Yeah? Those of you who are sick, I know a lot of Dominicans are sick, be it mentally, spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, whatever pain, health-wise as well, you may be going through at this time. We empathize with you. All right? As they say, where there's hope, where there's life, there's hope. And so once you are on this side of life still, then tomorrow can just spring out to be a much better day for you. So just keep hope alive, knowing fully well that whatever you may be going through today, it is said joy. Yes? Joy. That joy that you so desire, it comes in the morning. Yeah? To all my elderlies at home at this time, those of you with different kind of infirmities, whatever it is, the leg, the backache, whatever, you guys, you walked, you worked for Dominica, and so it is time now for you to take your rest, as it were. So we applaud you guys for your hard work, making Dominica what it is today, that we can at least enjoy some of your hard work. And as in that vein now, we want to at least tell you guys, assure you guys, that even if you close your eyes today, tomorrow, then we will, as a people, remember your works and try to live up to the standards that you would have wanted us to. All right? So all the elderlies at this time, a pleasant good evening to you, no matter where you are and whatever you may be going through at this time. Whenever I get to sit down with an elderly person, man or woman, I always take the time to do that, because the kind of wisdom that can be imparted to you, just sitting and listening to an elderly person telling you their life stories, telling you the situations that they went through, how they dealt with it, and just talking about Dominica as a whole, how it was back then and how it is today. It is a tremendous time that, if ever you get, you need to cherish it and just listen. Yes, just listen to the elderlies in terms of their stories. Yeah? I always cherish those times. Because when they're gone, those stories go with them as well. And so whenever I get to document those stories as well, I also do my best in documenting it. Yeah? All right, enough of that part of the segment of the program. Let us move on now to a more heavier material in terms of stuff. Just before I came on, I heard about a stabbing incident, that stabbing victim was being tended to at the PMH, the Casualty Department to be precise. So let us hope and pray that person who suffered multiple stab wounds and been told at least they make it through that journey. Okay? And we just ask that the nurses and doctors who attended to this person at this time and the other persons up there, that at least the wisdom be granted unto you guys to continue to help our people in need, especially in terms of their health. Yeah. Also at the hospital, I will just script on it today, but there, and let me zero in on the APU, the Acute Psychiatric Department. That area just west, yes, west of the compound area of the hospital. That is where they keep the persons who they deem to be mentally challenged. I am being told of some very unbecoming stories at the APU. And so those of you who are in direct line of fire, you know yourselves at the APU. And so I'll just ask now that those of you as well who maybe in one way, shape or form be part and parcel of the things that I'm hearing showing up its head at the APU, at the hospital, you guys need to stop it. You men in particular, MEN, men, you guys need to stop it. I've been hearing those stories for a little while now, but I decided this afternoon to at least give the public an idea, a clue, so that at least even the management of that facility, they may take much more better precaution in terms of security and looking over of the mentally challenged people, especially the young women who come under their care there. I am hearing certain things that have been going on there for some time as it relates to some of the male workers and female patients. And I don't want to get more graphic than this, at least for that episode. But I just wish and pray that at least those things that I'm hearing, those things that came to me from a very factual standpoint, those things will cease. Whenever someone goes into a hospital, especially the psychiatric ward, as it were, they are deemed to be of a certain state of mind. That is what the authorities say. That is what is concluded. And so it should not be, it cannot be, that because of that state that these people are in, some people would tend to take advantage of that situation. We need to stop it. And so again, I'm calling on the management of the APU to look into the matter or matters that pertains to you guys. I'm calling on the police, those of you who may have had in your possession certain information, whether your investigation, wherever it is, you guys need to step on the gas. And the court system in Dominica, when those matters come before you and someone or some people they are found guilty, you guys need to take action. And so I will rest my case there for now. You may be hearing much more in a subsequent program. But I think I have sufficiently put enough out there for now that at least different people with different responsibilities needs to step up. Yeah? Good. Let us move now to our nation station, DBS Radio. And before I go there to tell you what I've been hearing about our nation station from people who are in the know, let me applaud, big up, congratulate everybody and anybody that passed through that station, worked at that station, and made that station what it is today. Countless people. I will not go calling names now, lest I leave out one or two and some, how it is in Dominica. But you know yourselves. You know the household names that passed through that station, that kept us afloat in terms of the information when we needed it, the camaraderie, the just pulling communities together and pulling Dominica together as a country. You know their names. So big up you guys. But I want to tell you guys, while saying that, you say very simple, that station that you helped build, if you don't know, I am telling you from a very factual standpoint, it is no longer that station anymore. The station that you worked, you toil, you gave your all. It is no longer that station anymore. It is still called the Nation Station. But of late, that name has been turning into something else. And the something else, your guess is as good as mine. And it is said, and it is believed, it is said and it is believed that leadership, everything rises or falls on leadership. And so if the leadership now of DBS Radio today is turning that station into something else other than the nation station, we Dominicans need to be apprised of it, needs to know what is going on there, and if needs be, take the necessary action. We know, we read, we listen, we watch in all despotic countries. In all despotic countries, one of the characteristics of a despotic leader or a regime with the tyrannical tendencies, it is to take hold of the media, be it the print, be it the video, be it audio. And so I am saying, based on what I'm hearing coming out of DBS, it would seem as if that DBS is now turning into something else. I mean to say, I know we have been hearing stories here and there and here and there, but it is becoming now unsustainable. And those who have ears, let them hear. Those who need to take the necessary actions to pull up their socks, let them do that as well. DBS cannot be, should not now dovetail into the arm of the Labour Party or what passes for the Labour Party. No. So the station that we know as the nation station should not be engaging itself in helping push one party's agenda over the others in Dominica. No, that is unfair and it needs to stop. The level of victimization and intimidation that goes into and around DBS Radio, it needs to stop as well. It needs to stop. So what I am hearing from the grapevine is that some tentacle of the Labour Party, whatever it is that passes for the Labour Party in Dominica, they have been slowly but surely encroaching onto DBS, which is supposed to be the nation station. And some things that are happening there, they are not right. And some people, they may not come publicly like me and say it as it is. But they tell me. And they tell me with evidence at that. They tell me with proof at that. And so I am just sending out that alarm, that clarion call, so that whoever needs to pull up their socks needs to pull up their socks. Should I go deeper? I will not go deeper. But I'm monitoring, and in time, much more will be unveiled, as it were, to you, the Dominican public, as to some of the happenings that is going on at DBS, or some of what is not happening that used to happen. Igobofo is at DBS Radio. DBS Radio is supposed to stand out among any other radio or media in Dominica, because it's supposed to be the people's station that represents Dominica and Dominicans at heart. And so I understand the other mediums can sway one way to the other, although they're not supposed to, but at least we can understand, because any privately owned station, obviously management have the right, as it were, to do whatever they deem fit for their station to stay afloat, be it sway one way or sway the other way. But that nation station is supposed to be standing erect, representing the people's needs in Dominica. That's it. And it should not be like the other privately owned stations going as the political wind blows. No. So we, the Dominican people, it is we to ensure that DBS remains DBS, the Dominica Broadcasting Station or Service. Nothing less, nothing more. Before I move on to the next segment, because I told you guys tonight will be heavy, let me just take some of you guys' comments before I move on. Kinsley Brooks says, love to you, quite late with the alleged stories about the male workers at the female patients at the APU. These stories have been around for a while now. Feel so sorry for the patients. Thank you, Brooks, for your comments. Remember, I told you, I have been hearing those stories for some time now. But I'm not a person to just hear a story and run with it, especially when it is not fact-checked. But I thought today, just going through it with the week in my psyche, processing it, patients should not be going through the pain, the trauma that some of them go through when admitted at the APU. So if the management of the APU did not know that before, at least they should be knowing that now through the conduit of this program. If the police did not know that before, because I know the police always listens to and pay attention to this program of ours every Saturday, especially. And so, Mr. Valerie, you and your men and women, if you guys were at bay, not knowing what was going on at the acute psychiatric department, a section of the hospital, you guys need to acquaint yourself with some of the matters that are happening there. You have the power by law to initiate investigations and bring perpetrators to justice. Hold perpetrators accountable. And so, Mr. Valerie, put in your note, you and your, especially CID department. That is one for you guys to look into. Yeah? Lydia Harrison says, but wait, what do you expect when the manager is who he is? It's unfair, but the employees accept the dictatorial leadership. Ahmed Fountain says, the doctor hands in everything. Ferdinand Lawrence, Dominica, and everything in it belongs to Skerrit. Well, I don't believe that. It may appear so, but I don't believe that. How are you going to stop these things from happening? Marlene Schillingford says, Dominica Starboy Station. That's a new name you want to christen the station with? Starboy Station? Owen Prosper, you're there saying good evening. Okay, those are some of the comments that I can see as we speak. I know there are more, but that piece of gadget that I have will not allow me to see more at the time. Yeah. So those of you commented so far, thank you very much. Either way, be it for or against. Now, let's turn to a matter that I know some of us are going to be very divided upon. I know that, so I say it, even before we go into it. Because two things that really and truly divides us as a people, especially black people: politics, the way how we live, and religion. These two things. Some people may want to kill for a politician or politicians. And by the way, before we step a little further, those of you who may not know as yet, Donald Trump was convicted 34 counts. The eyes had it, as it were, where the jury was concerned last week. Thursday, Friday, raised some hush money. Right? And it is what it is. The conversation continues with the America politics. I know some people out there, they are die-hard Trump fans. Some persons are die-hard anti-Trump. But it is what it is. But that is another conversation. Alright? But we have to keep our eyes and ears glued as to what is going down in America as well, because November 4th is quickly approaching, and as they say, when America sneezes, other countries around it catches cool. But let's come back on track. We heard a lot of Pastor, well, let me give him the right handle that he called himself, Apostle John Chi, from Cameroon to be precise. I listened, I heard, and knowing that the person that I am not a person to judge anybody based on other people's words or other person's sentiments. So I went in and did my own digging, because it is there, my own research as to just who is Apostle John Chi, the apostle who came to Dominica and to some performed miracles and to others were just a show. And I say it as it is. I was going to say something, but I'll leave that out for now. That might cause too much of a stir. What I want to tell us, people, from a very factual standpoint, and that is where I focus on the facts. And the facts, they say, are very stubborn things. In doing the research on Brother John Chi, and one might ask, but why did you research your brother? Why did you go and dig about him? No, well, he came to Dominica. And he was a point of conversation in Dominica for some time, and maybe still is. And so the Saturday programs that we have here, yours truly touch on every and all subjects. John Chi was invited to Dominica based on what I know. He came to Dominica and he did some stuff in Dominica. And as I said, he was a very polarizing figure in Dominica for the few days that he stayed there. And it goes with the territory. And I am in no way, shape, or form casting doubt on the brother as to his calling and his blessing from the Almighty. That is not my focus. My focus is he being here and being a point of contention, being a point of conversation where the Dominican public now is or was concerned. And so let me say straight off the bat, I made contact with at least 3 people. Two from Nigeria, one from his hometown, Cameroon, and another from, well, Nigeria, but more or less in the city, Lagos, they call them, in the background checking. And what I came up with, based on these people's utterances back to me, it was a very straight case. And the straight case they presented was, Lofty, the connection that we know of Brother or Apostle John Chi is that of his mentor, his predecessor, the one who came before him. But as of John Chi himself, as of now, there's very little that we can say about this brother in the negative light. And so I pressed on and I asked them, okay, if you cannot say anything negative, will you say anything positive? And at least 2 out of the 4 people had positive attributes to, bestow on him, as it were. They have been following him. The other 2 were very cautious in terms of their utterances. A matter of fact, Let me just read something here. One of the people reported back to me, and I'm reading now, based on me asking. Says this guy is from Cameroon actually. In truth, the practice of Christianity appears very magical to me, as to the person. And I, meaning the person, keep them 20,000 miles away from my gospel reader. Let me read that again. The person said, in truth, there appears to be, the practice of Christianity appears very magical to me, and I keep them 20,000 miles away from my gospel reader. The body continues by saying, please be extremely cautious with him. Google and research him. You will see he had close affiliations with TB Joshua. You do the math. That is what an academia, someone who, as I can tell you now, is very high up in the order in terms of intellect. He's not an ordinary Joe Blow. And the other three that I spoke to, they were of a certain Christian caliber realm. All right? Now, so to be true to Apostle John Chi, at present, as we speak, because I like to speak very clear and in very unambiguous terms and tones, as we speak, there is absolutely nothing of gray areas that I got on Apostle John Chi as an apostle. What the people had issues with is the person who introduced him to that kind of life, to that kind of spiritual apostolic life. And so that is where I sort of went in and did some digging on my own to find out just more about this mentor of John Chi, TB, two African names, TB Joshua, who was his mentor. Died at 57 of some sort of, strange, mystical means, I should say. After giving a service, basically just retired and passed out at 57. Still sort of up in the air as to just why. But, as I said in the preamble, everybody has a number, and so I guess his number came. Yeah? Now, so having laid the card down on the table as to my findings with John Chi, maybe in the future, I don't know, there will be things that will be unearthed. But for now, I can say, based on what I got, he is squeaky clean in that area so far. Other people out there may have a different point of view, but your view is yours. TB Joshua, his mentor, which he, John Chi, basically praised on a number of times for mentoring him, for bringing him up spiritually, for helping him along the way, for giving him the opportunity that he's now that acclaimed man of God. John Chi, basically, I am saying now, had some tongue lashing, as it were, to a group of people who call themselves journalists from the BBC's end, who did an investigative work on TB Joshua that is John Chi's mentor, and found out in the process by having discussion with a number of people, times without number, as Pierre Lumumba would say. A number of people came through and said they experienced what they experienced with TB Joshua. Likewise, some people as well, they came through and basically said a number of good things about TB Joshua. So you can see right there that split right down the center. And that is why I said from the preamble, this brother, this spiritual figures normally comes across with very, very divisive nature. Some is either you like them, some is either you hate them. Some will like, some will hate, some will love, some will whatever it is. But I don't want to go down that road in terms of going too far on the spectrum, love and hate. No, we want to focus right there in the center and deal with the facts. Now, TB Joshua was, because he's gone now, a very controversial figure on both sides of the aisle. Some loved him to death and some hated him to death as well. But what is striking to me though, what is striking to me, the BBC did that interview, and I made contact with an affiliate, a correspondent of the BBC when I saw that interview, 3 episodes to be precise. And I asked the brother, well, you know, I just want to make sure that those episodes about TB Joshua, that it is true fact. The brother said, yes, Dura, it was done some time back, and these were the findings. And so it's true. Now, there were a lot of allegations made against TB Joshua back then. A lot of allegations. And it was only right that a media corps, a media organization like the BBC would have stepped in and tried to verify for themselves some of the allegations that were made. And during the course of their investigation, a number of people chose to speak to them and gave them their own experience with the man they called TB Joshua. And so you yourself, don't take my word for it, go online, do your research, get the documentaries, peruse through it, analyze it for yourself, and be the judge in that department. And so in the interest of time, I'm going to play for you at least one interview with a young lady from Nigeria. Sili, CBC, that's the name. She basically spoke to the BBC and gave them an accounting that she had with TB Joshua. So I want you to listen for yourself. It's not long, about just under 20 minutes. And like, of course, I will play for you as well when she's done giving her experience. John Chi now, his response to the BBC and the interviews and the investigation that they conducted on his mentor, Apostle Joshua. Yeah? Take a listen, people. Let me see which one I want to start with. Yeah, let me see if I can get this lady from Nigeria who had her experience with him. Her name is Sili, CBC. She is now in charge of a foundation basically helping people cope with
people's eyes to be opened to the situations that happen
that may arise. Yeah, let me just get back to the start of this interview. Good. Let me just pan that camera here. Okay, this young lady in the frame is one of the people who shared her experience with the BBC. Her name is, as I said before, Silly CBC. You can also do your research on her as well. SIHLE from Nigeria. Let's start.
My name is Silly CBC. I'm 38 years old. So firstly, for me to go to Nigeria was because of the church here in South Africa. The prophet of that church had shown us videos of TB Joshua, a lot of them. And he had told us that he's the spiritual son to TB Joshua. So that's how most of us ended up going to TB Joshua. And I went to TB Joshua's church. And when I got there, I thought it was just a normal visitation. Moreover, I had an ear operation. And even after the operation, I still had a bit of struggle to hear on my left side. So when I went to TB Joshua's church, it was, we've seen this man healing people. We've seen him do these miraculous things. So you go there from a point of, I'm also going to get healed. Moreover, I want to get closer to God. Because this man is telling us how he is the voice of God and very close to God. So I was in Nigeria and I was chosen amongst people at the prayer line to say I need to stay there and be an evangelist for God. And I was not asked, but I was chosen and I was told I need to stay to be an evangelist for God. And because you are already, remember they've created this scenario that being close to the man of God is a status call. Being close to him is a privilege. So automatically you already infused in that vibe of, oh my God, I am the luckiest person on earth to be chosen by this man to stay in his church. And what made it comfortable by then is that I had seen other girls from all over the world, from the UK, from Singapore, from everywhere. And again, I was introduced to one of the first white South African girls, Angie, who stayed there. So, and I was introduced to Michelle also, who stayed there. And I was the first black South African girl to stay there. So it made it look so beautiful and so easy for me to be there. And when I was in the church, obviously they knew that I could sing. The church that I came from in South Africa, I was in the worship team. But in Nigeria, they call it the choristers. So I became part of the chorister team. I was then brought closer with the three main lead singers, the three sisters, which is Anu, Anne, and Bosse. And I was part of the worship team there. If it's not worship that we're doing, I would be working in the admin department. If I'm not in the admin department, they would basically give you different chores to do, or you working in the visitors department. But yeah, I was there. Well, I think I was around about 2021, if I'm not mistaken. And I stayed there for about, not sure, about 3 to 4 years at the church, roughly 3 to 4 years, yeah. Well, my mom was very happy because the church from South Africa that took us there, for her, it was, your daughter is chosen, the first black South African to stay there, and it also gained her favor with her prophet here in South Africa because it's a status quo thing. Because again, even the church in South Africa was now elevated to another level to say, their girl is chosen from that church to stay at Nigeria. My father, on the other hand, was not impressed because no one knew that I wouldn't come back. I thought I'm going there for 7 days and I'm coming back. He was not impressed. He was not happy about it. And even when I called him to say, I'm not coming back home, Prophet said I'm stay, I did express to the Prophet that my dad is not happy. My dad doesn't want me to stay there. As a result, Prophet TB Joshua then paid for my Dad, my mom, and my brother to fly down to Nigeria because he needed to reassure them of my safety and to reassure them that indeed it's a calling from God. My dad, in the beginning, he was not buying it. And I think it was at that time xenophobia was still very high. So he couldn't understand why would I leave South Africa and come and stay in Nigeria. I mean, I had just started working and I had just bought my first car, a Fiat Palio, and I was staying in my first apartment in Auckland Park. So he couldn't understand what was going on. But at the end of his trip, with his visit at Team Joshua, he was more convinced than ever that, okay, I can stay here after he had had his encounter with TV Joshua behind the scenes. In the beginning, everything was nice. I mean, I was then taught to no longer call him prophet. I must now call him daddy, because he's our father. So you get used to, this is our father, he loves us, he protects us. But then you start getting to see sides where he becomes physical with not just with people, with disciples. I mean, we had disciple class that would start at about 10, 11, sometimes 1 a.m. You don't sleep if daddy is not sleeping. You have to be at disciple class. So automatically, they're already working on you because you're seeing how disciples get disciplined. You're seeing how if you have confided in somebody about something at a disciple meeting at night, they would report you. Somebody would would publicly say in the meeting, Daddy, Sister Sikle said 1, 2, 3. And then others around them must support whatever Daddy's reaction is to you. So automatically you saw that this was a system where we can't trust each other here. Whatever happens to me must stay with me, because if I tell the next person, that person will then go and publicly tell Daddy or tell on me at the disciple meeting, and that will just, there are repercussions, consequences. You'll find yourself being punished, you'll find yourself, it's either you're heavily beaten, or you have to beg for forgiveness, or the worst could happen to you. So you're already drained out, and they worked on you mentally, you hardly sleep. There's no sleep, you can't sleep when Daddy's not sleeping. You're working all the time, and you're always very alert and conscious of your surroundings, because you never know who's watching you, and you have to be careful what you say to whom and how. So within the disciples, started noticing that amongst disciples, some people had little relationships amongst themselves, where the disciples themselves sometimes would be intimate with each other. And you then discovered that, so this is done in rooms when there are no visitors. But Daddy wouldn't see it, and you wouldn't understand why not. But the fascinating part is, certain girls were always called up to the 5-story building. And when you asked, I remember I was in trouble because I used to ask girls to say, but how come you're the only one that goes to 5-story? And what happens at the 5-story building? So at one disciple meeting, I was reported upon to say, Daddy, Sister Sikle was asking me why I'm always at the 5-story business, at 5-story building. And I was in trouble for that. But obviously, I wanted to know, why do these specific girls go to 5-story building? And when they go there, they have their Bibles and notes. Remember, we all want to be closer to the man of God. You need to be closer to him. And one day when I least expected, I also got the call to say, Daddy needs you at the 5-story building. And I went up to the 5-story building, very excited, eagerly awaiting to see or experience what other people experience there. Because, I mean, you think that you're getting closer to heaven. I mean, maybe he's praying for you. Maybe he's going to give you more Bible scriptures. You don't know, but it's a status quo kind of thing. And lo and behold, you walk into 5-story, and then there are the 5-story boys there. These are the boys that looked after him completely. And as soon as you get there, he dismisses them off. And he just looked at me. And he said, oh yeah, Sikle, take off your pants. And at that moment, you're not sure is this really happening, or am I dreaming? Like, your mind is twofold and everything. But at the end of the day, you end up submitting to what he says. And he has your way with you. And when he's done, it's as if nothing happened, and he asks you to leave. It was never consensual, because, as I say, you walk in and he says, take your pants off. And remember, you've already been worked on, and broken down to a point where you don't have the capacity to think for yourself anymore. Anything you believe that's right there is what is said by Daddy. If Daddy said, it's true. So it was not, I can't say it was consensual. It happened. And you come out of it, and then he will tell you, now you're spiritually connected to me. And he looks you straight in the eyes and says, now you're spiritually connected to me. You're spiritually with me forever. So for you, it's a mind over matter kind of thing, because once you leave there, there was a sister called Bisola. She's also in the documentary. She was his pimp. And once you leave the 5-story, for some reason, you would bump into her. And immediately she'd give you a chore to do. She'd basically monitor your behavior after the experience as to who you talk to, what are you doing. So automatically you kept so busy so that you literally don't even have time to tell anyone. But at the same time, who would I tell? Because already you've been introduced to a system of seeing how when you report, when you tell somebody something, that night you're going to get reported and you're going to get the punishment that comes with it. The worst punishment I got, I was chased out of the church to sleep in the car park. Now the car park is attached to the church building, but it's an open place where they called it the car park because that's where his ambulances and cars used to park. And I was made to sleep there for a month because I was told I'm rebellion, I'm very proud, and I needed, that was done so that it could kill the flesh, it could kill my pride, because they said to die when your flesh is dead, you need to die unto Christ your flesh needs to die for Christ to resurrect in you. So I was in the car park for about a month, where disciples are told, if somebody is being disciplined, you don't talk to them. You have no relationship with those people. You leave them at the car park like that. The only thing they do, if somebody gives you food, they give it to you secretly because they can't publicly be seen to be talking to you and anything to do with you. That's the worst form of discipline I received. You're at the car park, and the only time you would pray for is for Daddy to walk past, because sometimes there were so many entrances, so many passages within the synagogue. So when you see him walking past the car park, you would literally run to him and plead for mercy. Daddy, forgive me, because you want to go back in, you want to go back into the system. So he's basically trying to tame you to a limit of saying, if your flesh is not dead, you're not coming back here. Mind you, he has your passport. Where are you going to go to? Because they keep our passports. Personally, I've been talking about not just my abuse at the hands of churches, pastors in the religious sector, because the abuse started in South Africa at this church that took us there. Because at that church, I was chosen yet again, and I was staying in the mission house. So this pastor, same modus operandi as TB Joshua, but TB Joshua's on a higher scale because TB Joshua is the spiritual dad. This pastor had a mission house in Parktown where he kept young girls that he chose. And this is where we saw the worst atrocities ever that were happening to young girls. And I started speaking from then. But the more you speak about, oh my God, this is what I saw, this is what happened, that is when you're being silenced. Because then they would say, it's not you, it's the demon in you and you need deliverance. It's the devil in you speaking, you need deliverance. And then when you get to Nigeria, the same thing happens. So automatically you think, okay, this is how life is. And unexpectedly so, you still get shocked because you're thinking, but this is the godfather of Christianity. This is the man close to God's mouth. Why would he then do this also? So I've been talking, but people are not listening. When it comes to TB Joshua's ordeal with me, it's funny how when we had a reunion with the victims, we all, for the first time, started speaking about that TB Joshua actually sexually abused us when BBC approached us to say, it's a safe space, we've been investigating, you need to tell your truth. All along, most of us would just say, no, it was just an unspoken truth that disciples would amongst each other, and that's that. Because you feared to actually say TB Joshua did, because we saw how when Sister Bisola went out and publicly said TB Joshua did this to her, how he ostracized her, how he sent people to want to kill her, how he campaigned against her. So you were scared for yourself, for your life, to say, I'd rather talk about everyone else but keep him clean, because we knew that he was capable of more and you were afraid. Until you've walked in my shoes, you will never understand. Hang ten. The trauma that Sihle Sibisi grew up under, the trauma that she's been subjected to. Hang ten. Have you ever took time out to find that maybe, possibly, this is a woman who's being hurt and she's going through the most and she's now on a healing journey, and that is why the foundation was born. Kwanele Foundation was born during the time of COVID because there was no one around, everyone was locked down in the houses, and I had to face myself and introspect to say, Sihle Sibisi, why? What happened to you? What happened to your life? And that's when I had to face the reality of the church hurt that I was exposed to from the age of 16. And that is when Kwanele Mfundisi started. In the beginning it was called Kwanele Mfundisi, trying to say, this is what I went through at the hands of pastors, churches, and the religious sector. So to everyone that's trolling and saying whatever that I'm seeking attention, they must just be thankful that none of their wives, daughters, or children have ever or will ever go through what I went through. That is why I say, if I'm the sacrificial lamb for people's eyes to be opened to the atrocities that happen within the church, then let it be. Because if not for the pain that I went through at the hands of churches, pastors in the religious sector, Kwanele Mfundisi was not going to be born, and that means Kwanele Foundation is not going to be born. Have I received threats? Personally, no. It's just people who will just comment and write whatever they feel they need to write on social media. But so many things have been formulated about my name, because remember, when people are doing smear campaigns, what people don't know is they will say anything and everything under the face of the sun to want to troll you. And those who don't take time to want to get to know who this person is, what is this about, they easily believe it and they easily drag your name through the mud. So am I getting threats personally right now? I haven't heard of any, or maybe I haven't received any, except that I'm seeing on social media where people are just writing whatever that they feel they want to write and saying whatever that they feel they want to say. But I'm glad that the documentary happened, and for me, it's vindication on my part, because yes, if you say Sihle Sibisi has been lying all these years about TB Joshua, so are you saying everyone on the documentary was lying also? Do I fear for my life? Personally, I don't. I won't say I fear for my life right now, because my conscience is clear. I've done nothing wrong except amplifying my voice about the traumas and the pains that I've been through. Maybe I would fear for my life if I was creating stuff and walking on people's toes, but if I'm going to speak about my traumas and the pains that I've gone through, surely there's someone who's watching or listening to this who can somehow relate to the traumas I've been through, and they can also find the courage to speak out. Do I fear for my life? As I sit with you now, no, I don't. I'm just sad for my son and my daughter, who they know the truth. With the TB Joshua story, I've been telling them. They were previewed to, when BBC was in South Africa, when they were interviewing us, they were previewed to all that information. But I'm just sad for them on the level that my kids are old now, they can read. And they are seeing what's happening on social media and YouTube and what people are saying. You know, for me, is it healing after the documentary? Definitely. Healing, because for the first time, you're able to own that part of your story that you're so afraid to talk about. That even me too. I also went to 5 Story. I also went to the Prayer Mountain, and he also had his way with me. So you're able to own that story now without fear. So now it's opening up wounds, and you have to relive this pain now, where you're reliving all of this. So yes, it's a journey of healing. Am I happy that he died before he could give his right of reply? No, I'm not. But at the same time, you ask yourself, what would he have said? I had to learn to accept an apology that I'll never receive, because he's dead. We're prepared for the backlash. I mean, that we know they're staunch believers. There are people who will live and die for their papas and daddies. So the backlash is nothing surprising. Where to from now? We soldier on. Kwanele Foundation soldiers on. We will not turn a blind eye to gender-based violence and femicide. And I always say that I amplify my voice against the ills, gender-based violence and femicide, and nothing or no one can silence me. It happened to me, and I speak my truth. Because yes, you will troll me, you will say whatever, you will want to do whatever to discredit me, but this is my journey of healing. I will not live by people's praises. Because if I do that, I'm going to die by their criticisms. I cannot do that for my sanity. So wait till from now on, Kwanile Foundation soldiers on.
All right, folks, you just heard this young lady's story. Her name is CDC. You just heard a very chilling story in terms of her engagement once upon a time with TB Joshua. That is the mentor, he said, times without number, by Brother Apostle John Chi. Let me now play into your hearing, at least for 2-3 minutes, the interview, the BBC investigation interviews that were conducted. I'm just going to play you the intro of that investigation, and so you could hear for yourself as to exactly how the BBC conducted their interview back then, right? Let me just play you the intro. She referred to that interview on a number of occasions.
Could you tell me a little bit about the fear about speaking out?
It was so hard to come out.
Sorry, people. That is another interview. Of a young lady basically telling her story, right? Let me see if I have the right one here.
I had nobody to reach out to.
Not this one. Let me go back here. Sorry about that, folks. As I said, there are a number of people who basically told their story. A number of people who came forth and recanted their stories, their experiences with the brother TB Joshua when he was alive. Let me just give you the introduction of that. Just the introduction, right? That's where it all started. 3 episodes.
Nobody would knowingly join a cult. It will just take you, and when it's grabbed a hold of you, it infiltrates your mind.
My name is Rachel and I'm from the UK, and we are all here as evangelists in training under our Father in the Lord, Senior Prophet TB Joshua.
You don't know.
The man of God told us that Satan is the author of killing, of stealing, and of destruction.
I'm looking at myself, I don't even recognize myself. I can't watch stuff. I just find it very disturbing. I just went down this rabbit hole of one horror to another. He wanted to be the biggest, best, the most important pastor in the world.
Joshua had the right here.
A man who has got a list of presidents in his pocket. This is the first time that is being heard from the heart of this organisation. Some people, they are still living in fear for their lives, in fear for the retribution that will come if they do open their mouths.
You are the one looking for men for sex.
I had no idea he was a serial predator. was perpetrating crimes on a global scale for 30 plus years.
I am a serial killer.
I think everybody that came from that place has guilt. He took people who were good, caring, kind, lovely people, and he turned them into monsters.
All right, people, that is episode 1, right? There are 3 episodes, so there are 2 more episodes. Read the investigation done by BBC on Brother TB Joshua. That is the mentor of the apostle who came here to Dominica, Apostle John Chi. All right? Now, just before we wind up that segment, it would be remiss of me if I did not play into your hearing some of the utterances of Apostle John Chi re the investigation that was done by the BBC, where a number of people came forth and told their very horrifying stories when they encountered TB Joshua. And I got this sentiment from John Chi, Apostle John Chi, that he didn't care. There was not much empathy on his part. Now, that is the sentiment I got from him, in terms of his response to the BBC the investigation on his mentor. Let's do this.
I want to begin with what was said here.
Let's do this, Dominicans.
I want to begin with what was said here.
Je vais commencer avec ce qui avait déjà été dit
at the beginning of the year,
dès le début de cette année,
on the 31st night,
en particulier le 31 décembre.
and I believe this is meant to guide us.
Okay, so folks, let me just put that into context. The man you're seeing there now is Apostle John Chi, who came to Dominica, a week ago, and he's responding via a sermon to the BBC that was done, where a number of people gave their very horrifying stories of his mentor when they encountered him, especially at that famous synagogue of his, right? On the 5th floor, wherever he encountered these people. Let me just start from here, I think. Let me just start from around here. Play you some of his response, and then we will get to the end of this in just a bit.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
My attention has been called to a mass campaign of calumny carried out by workers of iniquity.
Mon attention a été attirée par une grande campagne de calomnie causée par les ouvriers de l'iniquité
Against my father in the Lord,
contre mon père dans le Seigneur,
my mentor,
mon maître,
senior prophet TB Joshua.
le grand prophète TB Joshua.
And the synagogue church of all nations.
Et l'église de toutes les nations.
I am Apostle John Chi,
Je suis l'apôtre John Chi,
a bona fide son of senior prophet TB Joshua.
un fils spirituel de l'apôtre du prophète TB Joshua.
I lived in the synagogue church of all nations for 13 years.
J'ai vécu à la synagogue, église de toutes les nations, durant 13 ans.
And I am still part of the synagogue church of all nations.
Et je fais toujours partie de l'église de toutes les nations.
I want to say that the synagogue church of all nations is the university of God.
Je suis là pour vous dire que la synagogue, l'église de toutes les nations, est l'université de Dieu.
And in the university of God, however brilliant you may be,
Peu importe votre degré de brillance,
you will never be given double promotion.
vous n'obtiendrez jamais une double promotion.
All right, folks, in the interest of time, let's just skip to another area here, more or less closer to the center of this, and then I'll bring you to the end and we'll wrap up, all right, with some comments.
Listen to me. If you have a job,
Si vous avez une occupation,
you will not be after someone who is not alive to defend himself.
si vous êtes quelqu'un d'occupé, vous n'allez pas courir après quelqu'un qui ne vit plus pour se défendre.
If you have a job,
Si vous avez
you
une
will not be
occupation,
after someone who is not alive to defend himself.
vous ne courez pas après quelqu'un qui ne vit plus pour se défendre.
You can complain.
Vous pouvez vous plaindre.
You can blame your situation in poor family background.
Vous pouvez blâmer votre situation parce que vous venez des antécédents pauvres,
Bad counseling of friends,
des mauvais conseils des amis,
or the economic situation of your country.
ou la situation économique de ta nation.
But one thing is clear.
Mais une chose est certaine,
You are responsible for what you give your attention to.
vous êtes responsable de ce à quoi vous prêtez votre attention.
Your focus is your personal decision.
Votre succès est votre décision personnelle.
In Job 1 verse 12,
Dans Jean 1, verset 2,
the Bible says when the children of God were gathered, Satan also came.
la Bible dit que quand les enfants de Dieu étaient rassemblés, le diable est aussi venu.
In every true child of God, you will always see workers of iniquity.
Dans toute véritable église de Dieu, vous allez rencontrer les ouvriers d'iniquité.
Amen.
All right, folks, let us just, in the interest of time, fast track to closer to the end here of John Chi's response to the BBC via sermon, and we'll have a chit-chat before we bring that segment to a close, yeah? Let me just bring you closer to the end of that sermon right here, right now.
Attendez,
Everything you read
tout ce que vous lisez
should be subject to confirmation.
doit être sujet à une confirmation.
Find out the truth,
Cherchez
and
la
the truth
vérité.
shall set you free.
Cherchez la vérité et elle vous affranchira.
Find out the truth from God, not from man.
Cherchez la vérité de la part de Dieu et non de
Because
l'homme.
Psalm 12 verse 2 says, everyone lies to his neighbor.
Parce que le psaume 12 dit tout le monde ment à son voisin.
If everyone lies to his neighbor, whom can we believe?
Si tout le monde ment à son voisin, à qui croirons-nous?
Only God.
Seulement Dieu.
Find out the truth from God,
Cherchez la vérité de la part de Dieu
and it shall be well with your soul.
et tout ira bien pour votre âme.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
All right, people, in a nutshell, that was the response from Mr. John Chi, the apostle who came here some time back, visited Dominica for some time, and did what many believe was healing of the sick in Dominica. Folks, I decided to bring at least this video and audio aspects of the scenario to you that played out itself in Dominica, all in the quest of setting something straight. All right? What I can tell you based on what I noticed, what I listened to, the sentiments that I got from John Chi, never, well, I didn't hear him, never in John Chi's sentiments, be it on pulpit or otherwise, he expressed any sorrow. He expressed any empathy for the people, the number of people who were allegedly, let me use that word here, abused by his mentor, T.B. Joshua. And that, to me, it struck a chord. And so I'm not casting blame, I'm not casting any aspersions, but I'm just saying, if your mentor is accused of a number of allegations made against him, where persons came and testified in front camera, and based on the discussion that I had with this BBC correspondent as well, he said, Mr. Dira, there were a number of other people fearing for their lives. They did not opt to come in front camera. But I can tell you, he told me, what is on social media, it is a small fraction of the interviews that the BBC had with a number of people. Yeah? And I am saying, people, what I saw, the sentiments expressed by John Chi, Apostle John Chi, it leaves me wondering, it leaves me asking myself some questions. Okay? And that is the most real way I can put it. As I said, I'm not casting aspersions on the brother, but I would want to think, even from a human standpoint, you would want to at least empathize in the first instance with some of these people who came forward and lay blame at your mentor's feet for their lives being horrified in some way, shape, or form. Yeah? So, folks, I just thought I'd bring that to us, bring that to attention in terms of doing some kind of correlation, some kind of connection with the mentor that is TB Joshua and John Chi himself, the man who showed up in Dominica. And as I always say, you saw what you saw, you heard him with his voice, what he said in principle or in part. You can go online and listen to him in the entirety and come back and report to me if my sentiment of the brother in terms of not expressing anytime publicly, that is, I don't know if he did it private, I don't know if he did it private, publicly, that is, any sort of, empathy for the number of people. So I'll just leave that case there for now, and you guys out there be the judge as to what you heard. All right? And so let us move on, Dominicans, to the last segment of our discussion here. And it's 24 minutes to 8 o'clock. And so let me move to the last segment, read the pronouncements of the man who sits in the chair as Prime Minister. We're going to have a little chit chat on that, and then we will move from there. Yeah? Where is this now? Okay, so Roosevelt Skerritt was speaking at a press conference earlier this week where he made at least these two utterances.
Anybody can go on the website, read, and you have comments, send to me directly, or to the general, and we will take note of those comments and so on. But to go and sit down in a room, in a hall, and parish hall, and state house, and Portsmouth, and so on, we had enough of that. We had enough of that. We have other things to, we have other fishes to fry. That one is in the hot oil already, so we have to move on to it. And so on the electoral reform, anybody can go on the website, read, and you have comments, send to me directly, or to the general, and we will take note of those comments and so on. But to go and sit down in a room, in a hall, and parish hall, and state house, and Portsmouth, and so on, we had enough of that. We had enough of that. We have other things to, we have other fishes to fry. That one is in the hot oil already, so we have to move on to it.
Okay, let's delete the first statement first. Roosevelt is telling you guys in Dominica, if you guys have any issue, any questions, any comments, any suggestion, read the reform agenda for Dominica as it pertains to elections. He's telling you, put that in writing and send that to the Attorney General or himself, and they will deal with that. That's what the man said. Send that, get that to him, and get that to his Attorney General, Levi Peter, and they will deal with that. This thing about going and sit down in a town hall or Portsmouth or parish hall or wherever, or in communities to be discussing this thing about free and fair elections, we have bigger fish to fry. That to Roosevelt Skerritt, it is done and dusted already. And folks, that statement, I can tell you, it is very damning. It is very telling. And I am telling you guys straight up this evening, Roosevelt's carriage should not be trusted as it relates to making or paving the way, help pave the way with the help of the Electoral Commission in Dominica for free and fair elections in Dominica. Straight up. You heard this sort of rush, that all of a sudden he's rushing, a mad rush, to get into your parliament to pass the laws that suits him and his few. A very mad rush. He even went further to say in that statement at the press conference that he gave copies or copy of the draft that is supposed to go before Parliament to different people and organizations, including the OAS and others. Now, folks, if you guys buy that, yours truly, I didn't buy it. Roosevelt Skerrit is not a man that can be trusted when it comes to Dominica's business. And so unless and until Roosevelt Skerrit can provide the proof of he sending across email or otherwise that draft report or draft recommendation or draft legislation to these people that he called, yours truly will have none of it in terms of believing him. And it is not because of my own doing. It is because of his doing. Because for a number of times, we realized Roosevelt Skerrit was and still is very economical with the truth. It was that same Roosevelt Skerrit who told us some time back the house, the palatial mansion that he is living in, he and his family at Mount Daniel now. It was that same Roosevelt Skerrit who told us his little boy in very hypocritical ways and his children, persons are asking them questions at school and blah, 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 blah. And he will try his very best to remove that burden of Dominica's back and move to build a house of his own. Up to now, Roosevelt Skerrit is in the same palatial mansion at Mount Daniel with the same set of children, with the same family. Years on now. The time to have moved out is long gone in terms of his utterances, not mine. And so when a man can be so, as I said, be so economical with the truth, you really don't know what to believe and what not to believe. And so I am saying, this fuss about he sent these draft regulations to a number of different people and organizations, he will have to bring the proof on that one. But I'm not buying it. And it is as a result of his fault. It was the same set of people, the same OAS, the same CARICOM people, the same Commonwealth people, who basically, times without number, meaning a number of times, urged the government of the day to make the playing field freer and fairer for elections to go on where international standard is concerned. If memory serves me right, from 2009, these people have been pounding the pavement with that kind of messaging ever so often. So we had it from them in 2009. We had it repeated in 2014. We had it repeated again in 2019 and in between as well. Remember September of 2019, just before the heist, I call it, of an election. The biggest heist we ever will see in the history of Dominica where election is concerned. September of that year, he, at his request, he asked these people, this organization, to submit again to him some sort of recommendations so that it can pave the way for Parliament to approve, for the Dominican people to deliberate on, and we can have a free and fair playing field. September, and he knew jolly well in his mind he was going to short-circuit the process by calling elections in December of 2019, the highest. So he made a big show out of these people. He made them pass like ZZ, for use of a Dominican term that some of us will understand better. He made a fool out of them, like he did on many occasions. And so, late September, they came up with that report. You remember what we call the tripartite report, meaning 3 organizations, they came together to the aid of Dominicans on his request, when the pressure was being applied onto him as to making the playing field freer and fairer. You know what he did with that report? Through his Attorney General, Levi Peter, they came out swinging, they came out batting, they just take this report and basically, I am saying symbolically that is, just tear up the report and throw it in the rubbish bin. Levi Peter, when they got the report, Roosevelt requested. Levi Peter came out and said these recommendations, one, would have cost the Dominica purse, would have cost the Dominica public too much money. It would have caused too much confusion before the then election. So you see how cunning these guys are. So Roosevelt, no, the Constitution gives him that mandate to call an election at his whim and fancy. He knew he was going to call an election, but he put these guys in gear to waste their time to write regulation, draft, whatever it is for him. And he just brushed that on the side. So how would his Attorney General come out swinging and said it would have caused confusion ahead of the election? Because they jolly well knew that they were going to call election in the first place. So that is why they could come out and say it would have caused confusion once they got the report in their hand. And some other wild-card reason. 3 reasons Levi Peter came and told us publicly why these regulations could not be put in place. Submitted by these 3 different bodies that monitor, that scrutinize, that observe, that know everything about elections. It's like their political mechanics. And Roosevelt Scary would have the gall to come to us today and tell us that he sent this, whatever we're going through now, that has so many loopholes in there to continue to steal elections. He sent a copy of that. I am saying political rubbish to these people. That's what the man said. Scary and his government, through the mouth of Austria, the cabinet, paid Sir Dennis Byron pretty close to $750,000 EC to do recommendations, to come with recommendations, to do this, to do that. And again, this very man who sits there, deceptively so, short-circuited the process by not waiting again on Byron's reporting to him. And he called an election, a greater heist in 22 of December. Byron made recommendations as to certain things. You know my case on that from day one. We have enough brilliant brains in Dominica, in and out of country, to know what we want for our country moving forward. We know we have the capacity to do it for ourselves. But no, Roosevelt had to get his man. A lot of persons say allegedly it was a payback when Sir Dennis Byron sat at the CCG, at the apex of that organization. A lot of persons allegedly said it was a payback. I don't know, but you never know. Could it be? Byron made recommendations, including, among other things, the ways to regulate the monies, the l'argent that go in and out of the electoral process. The draft, the political rubbish, I am saying, Roosevelt sent to the OAS and other people, have nothing about the monies that go into the elections. Nothing. And these people, they put on pen how many times? They advise how many times? Campaign finance regulations, and offer to help in that regard. But no, when you're accustomed of stealing elections, that cannot be your worry. That cannot be your worry. So how now you are taking that sort of bogus, trashish document and sending it to these people that have much more experience than you and your Kabbalists trying to steal another elections in a much more legal way now. If, that's a big if, he sent it as mentioned, as said, once these people got that report, they will have a lot of questions to ask. And so I am saying, we in Dominica, we have to fix our problem, people. You all know you're nothing yet, you know. You all haven't seen anything yet. The draft that these people boasting about, scary, keep talking about, oh, we are bigger fish to fry, and that kind of foolishness. In Roosevelt's carried mind and his Kabbalist mind, you're on the list. All you need to do is to get confirmed to be on that list, and that's it. And they have a bogus process to reconfirm you. Unlike if you're a well-meaning person, you're a ethical person, you want that process to be much more transparent. You know what is haunting Roosevelt? The 2022 sham. That is what is haunting him. And I can tell you that, people. He will not tell you guys that. That is what is haunting him. Because he knows he is not there as a legitimate prime minister. When the whole opposition stays out of your process, and you went there, and you and your cronies just had a field day, and you came back on the people's back now, 2.5 years inside of an electoral cycle, it can't augur well. It cannot augur well, so that must be sitting on your chest. As when you eat something and it is upsetting you, and you want to puke. So he wants to run through with this bogus, whatever he came up with, run through it, Parliament, and let his eyes have it inside there, and come back soon, under a year, I'm being told, from within, and call another bogus election, and said, you know something, you guys wanted electoral reform, look, you had electoral reform, look, the Labour Party is back there. So what is your qualm? That is all that is on this brother's mind. And if you guys cannot see that, know that. A process the Dominican people have been clamoring for years in, years on now. You sat there, you dilly-dally with it. And now you just want to come and take it in whole and shove it down people's throat. It cannot work, Roosevelt. It cannot work. It will not work. And so we are seeing right through you and your intentions. deceptively so. The one thing, at least one of the main pillars that keep these people there, for want of a better term now, it is the unlimited amount of cash, be drug money, be drug trafficking, be drugs, be human trafficking, laundering money, whatever it is, the CBI money in terms of kickback that keeps them there. At least one of the main pillars that they use to stay on the backs of poor Dominicans. They have nothing to say about it in the draft that they're putting forward to get approved in the next couple weeks, as Roosevelt said. Roosevelt, if you know what is good for you, my brother, leave Dominicans space to develop their country. Do not shut down anything Dominican's fruit. Leave the Dominican people do with our affairs as we know it should. Do not stay there and be a stumbling block in the way of proper and effective development and governance, Roosevelt. Roosevelt, I am telling you today, the 1st of June, my brother, your legacy in Dominica, you will not be able to handle in terms of reading about your legacy. It will not augur well for you. You already there 15 years, illegitimately that is. Step aside. You already there on the backs of the people in a very illegitimate fashion. Step aside, my brother. Give the Dominican people the space that they need to breathe in their country. History have a way of repeating itself, Roosevelt. Whatever you made in 15 years should be enough. Whatever you made in 15 years, it should be enough by now. And so I'm asking you, humbly that is, as a patriot of my country, leave Dominicans' business alone. Step out of the way. Step out of the way, step out of the frame. Step out of the frame, sir. You have had enough. You have danced enough. It is said every good dancer should know when to leave the stage. And your time has come and it has gone. And so now you are on borrowed time. Leave Dominicans do their business where the country's development is concerned. Dominica is our country and all of us country to build. And so whatever you're planning with this sham, whatever you put on paper, we are seeing right through it. The Electoral Commission, you guys are sitting, Duncan Stowe and the two others appointed by the government side. Give Dominicans a space to breathe in their country by doing the right thing. We know you guys are passport sellers, passport peddlers, and so maybe that will be standing in your way as it pertains to doing the right thing. But please have a conscience. That foolishness about reconfirming people on a very bloated list, it should not stand. That is not the right way to go. If you want to come clean with the Dominican people, tell Roosevelt Scary at the commission's end, it's only a re-registration that will cut it in terms of being on that list or staying on that list. These guys, whilst we're sleeping, they are scheming. I can tell you that. So you see that confirmation process? Already that list is very, very bloated. I am not trusting Roosevelt and company with that confirmation process. If it is dirty, it is dirty. Let us clean it. And clean it straight from the start. You cannot want to make clean a dirty thing by putting it in dirty water. That is what is happening. And having it seemingly clean. No. Let us start the process with clean water, re-registration, get everybody come to Dominica, those who want to be on that electors list, and that is the way to start. This foolishness about fooling a form. Just saying my name is Joe Blow. And once you say your name is Joe Blow without no ID, no proof of identification, no residency requirement on a form, it cannot court it, people. And that is what Roosevelt is trying to shove down you and I's throat, for him to continue to stay at that political pinnacle in Dominica. I don't know how to say it better. I know when I speak, some people, they take offense, but the truth always offends. And wherever it is, that is it. It is what it is. From day one, I told us in Dominica, please let us reject Byron and his reporting. Where is Byron reporting today? Where is Byron reporting today, people? We are running with drafts now to Parliament. Where is the draft of Byron that we paid $750,000 for? Where is that? That is shoved aside. The OS report is shoved aside. CARICOM is shoved aside. The Commonwealth is shoved aside. All reasonable and rational people. We had a group in Dominica, we call themselves the whatever it is. All these people came together and plugged in recommendations that will suit our process moving forward. All these are shoved aside. Roosevelt, it will not go down good for you in terms of your legacy, Roosevelt. You came, you meet Dominica, you have to go and leave Dominica. And so whatever is left, if there's anything left in terms of your legacy, let it be. Leave Dominicans in their business. Do not try to interfere and take over. You already took over the electoral process. Leave Dominicans in their business. We know what your mind is on. We have seen you dance already. We know your different moves even before you do it. And that move, it is to call another election so that you can go out. Seemingly that is, whenever you decide to, 2025 or wherever it is. Having comforted yourself that you got another clean slate on the so-called reforms that the people have been asking for. We know that. That is afoot. And so the Dominican public, we must be very ready. We must stand at the ready to resist Roosevelt and his crew whenever they decide to go to Parliament to get these bogus regulations enacted as law. We have to stand against it. That is the only way. That's the only thing that will stop these people in their tracks. It is the Dominican people en masse. And so I am using tonight's program to alert Dominicans. Let us be on the ready. No bottles need to be fired. No stones like 79. Nothing at all in terms of violence. We have to stand resolute and tell Roosevelt Security in no uncertain terms and his Kabbalists, we have had enough. That is it. We are past time already, huh?
In respect to some of these significant changes, one, you're going to have the confirmation process, where each person who is on the voters list must present himself, avail himself to the Electoral Commission to say, yes, I am Curtis Matthew, this is where I'm voting, this is my ID, etc. And so that your necessary biodata, as required by the law, will be taken, and then you will be registered, will be confirmed as being a bona fide voter in Dominica, and your name shall remain on the voters list. So that's one of the fundamental points. The other fundamental point is that you will require an ID. We are calling it in the law a voter ID card, and that is another fundamental point. Another fundamental point is that persons who currently reside out of Dominica and who are on the voters list, you will have to come to Dominica to have yourself confirmed. So we will not be going to the various capitals around the world to allow this to happen. We want to avoid anybody accusing us of using our embassies or a hotel that is owned by a friend of the government, you know, how we are in Dominica. So you have to avail yourself in Dominica. So say somebody who is living in the United Kingdom and who wants to remain on the voters list, he or she will have to travel to Dominica to have his name confirmed or her name confirmed on the voters list. So we won't come to London or to Manchester to have you confirmed that we're on the Dominica.
Okay, people, finally, before we leave, you heard what Roosevelt said. That is a level of contradiction right there, people. All along, these government and their people have been saying they need to give the Electoral Commission the mandate, the power to go outside of Dominica to do whatever confirmation or reconfirmation, whatever it is, to persons who are on the list. I really don't know what Roosevelt Skerritt was thinking that day when he made that statement. And that is what we have been saying all along. But in the heat of trying to shove down things people's throat, that is part and parcel of the contradiction, the contradicting message or messages that this government and their handlers have been sending to Dominicans. So you see, they soften up on the term or tone voter identification. All along was modernization and what is it? This other card. All along they have been saying that. But to appease some people, deceptively so they install that, they plug that in there. Roosevelt, Dominica, leave Dominicans in the business. You have stayed on that political stage long enough. Dominica, in your mind, should be a dynasty. You said it already. When you leave, your son will take over and your children will. Dominica will not stand for that. Leave Dominicans mind the business and see to their country's affairs as it pertains to proper governance. That is the last final warning I can genuinely say to you as a man, ears and eyes connected on the ground. You have been fooling Dominicans too long with that reform process. Kicking that can down the road ever so often, buying time, buying for time. Dominicans, we have a country called Dominica. We have to attend to our business in Dominica. And don't let anybody or anything in their very deceptive way or ways get in our way to tend to our country. It cannot happen. It should not happen. That is all we are saying. So I am urging all Dominicans, all conscientious Dominicans now. Let me qualify. Because I know some Dominicans who are not for Dominica. All conscious Dominicans. We need to stand and defend and be in defense of our country. We well remember when these guys were going to make treating and bribery law, we stood up. The people spoke in very, very courageous terms. We spoke and they listened. And that doesn't mean they don't have intention to come back, because nothing has changed since then. So it is still on the card. So we have to continue to stand, or even stand more resolutely, when these bogus laws are going through Parliament, people. In Roosevelt's carried mind, the country has spoken about that too much. Let's get that out of the way. But we'll not get it out of the way, my brother, if it is not done right from the get-go. And so I just want to leave Dominicans on that note tonight, on a very courageous note, by telling us we have to attend to our country's business. We have to let the people know that, hey, our country is ours, and we have to build our country. So Dominicans, that is it for me. That is it for the company tonight.